Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So today I wanted to take a look at some comments made by the actress Sheron Menezes. She appeared on a pretty popular podcast these days. Two Brazilian actresses have a podcast called Quem Pode Pode. And there were several sections of the interview that I found intriguing about what Menezes said. Now, I've known about Sheron Menezes for a number of years. I think she made her debut as an actress in like the year 2002. She appeared on a novella. And it's kind of funny, I've been into the Brazil thing since, late 99, early 2000s. So really, I discovered Sheron Menezes, just a little bit after I really started keeping my eye on the situation with Black people in Brazil. Maybe 2 years after I started studying, all things Brazilian is when she made her debut on an ever popular Brazilian novella on the Global Television Network. Again, Global being the top network in Brazil. Sheron Menezes has kept her name in the spotlight for these 2 decades. People generally like her. She's played some very memorable roles in novellas. There's been a few things, in her career highlights that have been, maybe questionable, but I won't even discuss that right now. That's not the point of the video. I want to stay focused on what she said. I think it speaks volumes for where Black Brazilian women have come from, particularly in the last 2 decades, but specifically in the last, I want to say since about 2010, maybe. You've seen this rising self-confidence among Black Brazilian women. And it's something that's noticeable. As I said, when I first started discussing Brazil, and then after when I created the first blog, and this blog was originally entitled Black Women of Brazil, it was because I saw that it was like Black women were taking the lead in bringing Black Brazilians to get the recognition that they deserve. They wanted their place in the sun. And this is something they've been, pushing for years, decades, you could say, but I'll say they've made more advances in the last 10 to 15 years than perhaps the previous 50 to 60 years. It's really incredible. But today I want to focus on what she said on this podcast when she said the world wasn't prepared for a Black woman who knows how to stand up for herself and knows her worth. This is what Sheron Menezes said. And I agree with what she's saying, because when you look at just Brazil's history and its culture, the place of Black people in general, Black people are expected to bow their heads and be submissive to the white population. It's just the way that it is. I did a story some months ago. There was a picture that I showed. It was like a little bit after the slavery era, if I'm not mistaken. And it showed a Black man standing next to this. He was standing next to this white guy, and he didn't have on any shoes. And the question of the video that I was asking, like, why is it that there was a period when Black people were not supposed to wear shoes? And the point was that this came up in that same video. It says, wearing shoes was something that it signified a certain status. If you have on shoes, then you can almost demand respect in Brazilian society. It was almost like, there was these twin models from the northeastern state of Maranhão, and they were telling that story about how their mother told them that they wanted to make sure, even in the 2000s, their mother wanted to make sure that her girls had on shoes. It's like, wow, this is something that really comes out of the slavery era. And, still there are people who's like, look, you can't walk around with no shoes on. It came up again when, a lot of Brazilians like to walk around wearing flip-flops. And some people were arguing like people wearing flip-flops every day now is kind of like it harks back to the time when if a Black person didn't have on shoes, they were almost seen as still a slave. That's a whole nother thing. There's a video you could check out for that. But I found that intriguing. Again, the position of Black Brazilians is one that Black people are expected to always be meek and to know their place. And Sheron Menezes is one of many Black women, as well as Black Brazilian men, who are standing up and saying, no, I'm a citizen in this country just like everybody else, and you're going to give me the same respect as everybody else. So let's get into this video for today. Okay, this is just an image from Sheron Menezes. She appeared on this podcast just last month, December of 2023. This is just a still that highlighted some of the best moments on the podcast with, again, Kane Poggi Poggi. Okay, so the some of the information that I got from today's video come courtesy of the Natelinha website, as well as Diário Gaúcho and the Kane Poggi Poggi podcast, as I mentioned before. Diário Gaúcho. Gaúcho means a person who's from the state of Rio Grande do Sul in the south of Brazil. And Sheron Menezes is a Gaúcha. She's from the state of Rio Grande do Sul. So, Sheron Menezes is an actress. She began her career in the soap opera Esperança in the year 2002 on Brazil's top television network, Rede Globo, and then followed up her debut with several roles on the same network. These novellas include her work in Celebridade in 2003, Como Uma Onda in 2004, Belíssima 2005, Duas Caras in 2007, among others. Not just limited to novellas, Menezes has also worked in film as well as theater. This is a picture from, looks like a promotional event for the novella Babylonia. There's a popular, I'm not going to say well-liked, but there's a popular ESPN journalist who I think Sheron Menezes kind of favors her in this picture, or rather, maybe that ESPN journalist favors Menezes, as Menezes, I think she's 40 now. Curious to know what you guys say. I'm not going to tell you the person's name, but who do you think she looks like in this picture? Did you drop that in the comment section? She has performed in a number of high-profile roles as memorable characters such as the ambitious Milena in Caras e Bocas in 2009. From there, she went on to appear in other popular titles such as Aquele Beijo 2011, Lado a Lado 2012, and the previous mentioned Babylonia in 2015, Liberdade Liberdade in 2016, and Novo Mundo 2017. Another thing I like to point out is, again, you find so many novellas. Brazil seems to have this obsession with releasing novellas based in the slavery era. Now, some people could argue and say they're just telling, Brazilian history, and it's necessary to tell this history, even though most of these novellas are going to be fictional. But I argue that, is this a way that Brazil continues to try to keep Black Brazilians in their place, as if, don't forget your slave past? I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it. Showing her versatility as an actress, Menezes took on the role of the villain in the 2019 novella Bom Sucesso. This is Menezes here in Liberdade Liberdade, I believe, in 2016. And just to highlight my point, in that year, 2016, at that same time, Liberdade Liberdade was playing on Global. There was another novella, I think it was on the Record television network, what they call Rede Record. I forget the name of that novella, but at the same time, both of those, television stations were showing novellas based in the slave era, which kind of goes back to the point I just made. Most recently, Menezes shared in the groundbreaking success as the protagonist of the top-rated television novella Vai na Fé, which was recognized internationally for the prominent roles that Black actors and actresses played on the soap opera. The novella was one of three on Global TV Network's recent nighttime lineup that featured Afro-Brazilians as protagonists or as the majority of a cast on the novella. Menezes is married to the jiu-jitsu fighter and businessman Saulo Bernardi, father of her only son, Benjamin, born in 2017. That's another interesting piece I have to talk about because she said something else in this podcast that I want to discuss in a future video. On November 9th of last year, Menezes was voted the Mulher Mais Sexy do Mundo, meaning the sexiest woman in the world, by the magazine collectors and experts of the Clube da VIP, or VIP. Now, VIP used to be kind of like a men's type of magazine. It usually features some type of, attractive Brazilian woman on the cover. Occasionally they had men on the cover, but when you see these type of covers, it's obvious, okay, their main readership is going to be men. The magazine doesn't exist anymore. It existed between 1981 and I guess it shut down in September 2018, probably because of the competition from the internet. A lot of these paper magazines have gone to online editions. They've been replaced. I mean, when you look at, some of the things that some of the photos that women are posting on Instagram, it's like, okay, I guess, men don't necessarily need to go to the newsstand to get women dressed a certain way if that's what they want to see. So, this is a picture of Sheron Menezes. You have Deborah Secco and Bruno Marquezini. They came in first, second, and third in the 2023, what they call the sexiest woman in the world listing. I find it intriguing because every year they come out with this list. And I'm not saying, Americans or Europeans or anybody else or African women for that matter, have to be highlighted. But it's intriguing when they say these are sexiest women in the world when the vast majority of the women on the list are always Brazilian. Like, why do you call it the sexiest women of the world? Let me see if I think I have one of these lists, like this one here. Now, this is singer Isa. She won this sexiest woman in the world title 2 years in a row. I think 2019, 2020. So the 100 most sexiest women of the world. But what I found intriguing, like I just pointed out, is that when you go down the list, okay, Juliana Paz, Brazilian, Anita, Brazilian, Rafa Kalimann, Brazilian, Grazi Massafera. All of these women are Brazilian. And I'm not, it's not a problem to say, okay, these are some of the sexiest women in the world, but to say these are the sexiest women of the world and there's only Brazilians. Let's see. You only get to even Rihanna comes in number 14 here. Let's see, what other Americans might you see? You see Beyonce here at number 26. And again, I'm not Meg the Stallion here at number 36. Wait, Beyonce was number 26. You have Megan the Stallion. And number 36, you have Cardi B at number 39. And I'm not saying, again, it's not a problem to say that Americans have to always be on this type of list. But I'm just saying I find it intriguing that the vast majority of these names here, you see a couple more non-Brazilian names popping up here. I see Doja Cat. There's a few more in here. But the vast majority are going to be Brazilian women. And again, it's not the point that it's a problem that you highlight Brazilian women. But I would say, why don't you just have a list that says the sexiest women of Brazil rather than of the world? And then you have only a few women from outside of Brazil on that list. I just found that a little bit strange. Anyway, with 30 votes out of the 63 cast, she took the title, leaving actress Deborah Secco and Bruno Marquezini in second and third place on the list, respectively. On her Instagram profile, she celebrated her achievement. Like, wow, that I was elected the sexiest. I loved it. Okay. Another still saying she's elected the sexiest woman of the world in 2023. The vote is a way of, of keeping alive the traditional list of the 100 sexiest women in the world, published by the now defunct VIP magazine. Fashion consultant Lucas Hichi is the curator of the list, the only one of its kind currently in Brazil, which has been published on the Clube.vip, the Clube.vip Instagram profile for 11 years. This is a magazine cover. Sheron Menezes was on the cover. I think this is from 2015, again, from the defunct VIP magazine. In a post, the curator explained the decision. If I needed just one word to describe Sheron Menezes, that word would be excellence, because the muse delivers this veracity and perfection in everything she does, from her performance as an actress to her naturalness in opening a big smile, and reiterated that being elected the sexiest woman in the world is just a small part of what she has yet to achieve. Sheron, the sexiest woman in the world in 2023. Okay, so this is a photo of Isa, who won this competition 2 years in a row, 2019, 2020. In the sexiest woman in the world competition, singer Isa won for 2 consecutive years, 2019, 2020, becoming the first Black woman to win the vote. In the following editions, Paola Oliveira and the singer Anita were elected to the title. With her first place finish in 2023, Sheron became only the second Black woman after Isa to do so. I always find that intriguing. Brazil has always, promoted itself as a country of, equality among color, the skin color and race. But yet, in 2023, you can still talk a whole lot about this Black woman or this Black man being the first Black whatever in Brazilian history, a history of inequality. Here's another still photo. Sheron Menezes elected the sexiest woman in the world. So I want to get to with that little history of Sheron Menezes, I want to talk a little bit about the video the excerpt of this video that I wanted to discuss. So on December 13th last month, Menezes appeared on the Kane Podgy Podgy podcast, and I wanted to share an excerpt of the interview. This is only one section of an interview in which he dropped a number of pearls, a few of which I'm going to talk about in the future. So this is what she says. I'm going to overdub, what she said in this interview. She says,
O mundo não estava, porque agora eles têm que, né? O mundo não estava preparado para uma mulher preta
the world wasn't, because now they have to, right? The world wasn't prepared for a Black woman who knows how to stand up for herself and knows her worth. True work value, right? How much I cost, her beauty, and where she fits in. And I fit in everywhere, and the world isn't prepared. The world is prepared for a Black woman who has a slouched posture, who is submissive, who doesn't talk much, who doesn't want to draw attention to herself so as not to cause a commotion. And then when someone comes along and says, no, you don't talk to me like that. With me, you don't talk like that. No, you're like this, taken aback. You impose yourself. Then you're unfriendly. But no, people, I'm doing the exact thing you're doing. Exactly. I'm doing the same thing you do, except I'm not unfriendly, nor is she. Well, because you're white women, strong women, and our personalities are strong. I've just always been like that. That's it. And I've just stopped having a lot of friends because I'm like that, because I don't think they are. This Black woman didn't fit into that group, but you've always had this awareness. I always have. So I like what Sheron Menezes says here. I think she summarizes a lot this what's going on with Black Brazilian women these days. As I've said, they've led the charge, in demanding that Black people have their place in the sun in Brazil. There's been a number of, what I see in blogs, what I see in, these YouTube channels, and Black Brazilian women, they're pushing to get theirs, and I really like to see that. There's a couple of other articles dealing with Sheron Menezes that I want to point out, because she's been a name that's popped up on the blog for a number of posts. She was a target of some racism. Somebody took her picture from, one of her pictures online and put like a gorilla face on it. Brazil, we're not racist, but you see these types of things going on all the time. In the cover that I featured before, Sheron Menezes is the first Black woman featured on the cover of VIP magazine in 14 years. Other stuff I have here. Let me see, what else am I talking about here? This is the cover. I think it's from 2015. Again, just the fact that you have to say the first Black woman to be featured on the cover of this magazine in 14 or 15 years. Where's the equality there? Actress Sheron Menezes, through her and other actresses, she says, today, Black children have people in which they can see themselves, like role models, she's saying. But the other side of what she's talking about in the video is just talking about Brazilian society is not ready to deal with Black women who know their worth, who are not willing to be spoken to in a certain manner. I used to see this in the novellas and the movies, Brazil's movies and novellas from the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s, where you had this kind of yes, sir, boss type of mentality in the characters portrayed by Black women on these novellas and films. And Black women today are saying, no, you're not going to put me in that place. A month or so ago, Taís Araújo, another actress, probably the top Black actress in the country, talked about how she had this conversation with a white actor backstage, in one of the novellas she was filming. And, this attitude says that, well, you Black people are kind of snooty. You guys are kind of stuck up these days. And her thing was, is it that I'm stuck up, or you just don't know how to deal with a Black person who's on the same level as you? And this is what Sheron Menezes is saying, is kind of like, it kind of piggybacks off of what Taís Araújo was saying, this change in how Black women see themselves and how they demand respect in society these days, whereas, 20, 30, 40 years ago, it wasn't like this, right? But where the question becomes, when does it go overboard? This is an article, I think probably from 2020 or 2021. This is a Black woman filmmaker's view of these two particular women who appeared on the top-rated Brazilian reality show, Big Brother Brazil. I think it was from the 21st season. And these two Black women, this is a DJ and a psychologist, and this is Lumena. This is Carol Conká. She's a popular rapper, and a lot of people. Carol Conká has a large following, but after her appearance on Big Brother Brazil's 21st edition, her attitude came out. You know, she was seen as being vicious. She was seen as being rude. She was seen as being toxic. The way she was treating one particular male, black male participant on the show, he got so fed up with her that he ended up just leaving. He just left the show because he couldn't deal with the way he was being treated. And to a lesser extent by Lumena, but at the same time, both of them, he was getting this acid from both of them. And it wasn't just, his name was Lucas Pinciato. He's an actor now. It wasn't just him. You know, people backed him up when he left that show because he saw the way these two women in particular were treating him. You know, more so her, but later on, he started getting this venom from Lumena also. So he just bolted. He left the show and people were behind him. These two women eventually, she was the first one to get, you know, booted off the show. Had a huge, just negative image according to the Brazilians who were watching the television program. She's like 99%, 99.17%. She was voted off of the program. You know, Lumena stayed on there for a little while longer, but people saw some of the same thing come across in her. So she was voted off of the program. And so the filmmaker, Sabrina Fidalgo, she says unsubmissive black women are the terror of Brazil. She says these are the black personalities that Brazil doesn't tolerate. So the point is, again, okay, Brazil expects black women to lower their head, don't speak back, be meek, you know, and just stay in your place. But she's saying, the writer of this article was saying, like, no, you know, Brazil doesn't like unsubmissive black women. But the question for me is, at what point does it become, it's not submissive, it's standing up for yourself, but at what point does it go overboard? And this is one of the reasons why Carol Conká got voted off of that show. She was eliminated with the highest rejection percentage in the history of the reality show at that time. So she really showed out on that show, as well as Lumena. You know, it was like, they came across as hostile, just rude, you know, loud. And some people will look and say, well, you know, they're just standing up for themselves. And I says, well, again, how far do you go with standing up for yourself and showing that you won't be pushed over until you become, you know, people look at you like it's being too aggressive? So that's the question here. You know, that's something that's going to keep coming up from time to time because Brazil also have this image of black women as the angry black woman. You know, in this the caricature that's called the nega maluca is based on the stereotype of the angry black woman in Brazil. So anyway, this is not the whole focus of today's video, but I wanted to highlight this because what Sheron Menezes is saying, she's talking about this change in the way that black women want to be seen and perceived in the country. They no longer want to be just seen as meek, you know, submissive women. And, you know, this is coming across. Now, again, the question for me is how far do you go? And, you know, on the one hand, you demanding your respect to the point where you get very rude. People see you as arrogant. You know, that's a question that I have. So curious to know, there's some Brazilians who tune into this channel. I'm curious to know what your take is on this. If you've seen the Big Brother Brazil, the 21st edition with Lumena and Carol Conká, you know, weigh in on that. Just share that with viewers. You know, this happened, what, 2-3 years ago, that particular edition of Big Brother Brazil. But also, what did you think about what Sheron Menezes had to say here? Drop a comment in the comment section. Definitely, as usual, like this video, share this video. I think this is a video that will resonate with a lot of people. Consider, you know, subscribing to the channel. If you've been here more than a few times, click on the notification bell so that you'll know when I put up new videos. Consider dropping a super thanks, you know, make a contribution to my Cash App. Everything is always appreciated. And with that said, I am going to end the video here and ask that you all come back and check out the next video that I post.